name is Aarish and I am from 9B. We were assigned a group project of the global perspectives, and in this we had to interview a very notable personality, and we came up with you and decided to try and interview you. And
my name is Rohaim and I am from class 9E.
And this is a formal letter, you can sign it.
Okay. And where should I sign it actually?
Here.
So we'll do this formality later on. Okay. Whatever you want me to write, I'll do that.
Okay.
We can start over the interview now.
So please tell us about your early life.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for choosing me as what you call a notable to be interviewed for your interview. I'm really honored for that particular purpose, and it's been a pleasure having you here around. My name is Muhammad Ali Zia, and I write it as Captain Muhammad Ali Zia because initially I was in armed forces, I was in Pakistan Army, and then later on I joined the civil services. Starting about my initial service or my educational background or whatever memory I do have about my childhood or my educational start, I'll just share with you, and I'll try to be brief. My father, he got retired from services. He was also in civil services. So for that particular purposes, my early education has been from different cities. I have studied in different schools from different cities. Due to the posting of my father, I have been going to different schools at different places. So I started my education from Zia Khan. Zia Khan is a rural district which is on the southern side of Punjab. And then I studied in very small cities like Hasilpur, Bahawalnagar, Vihari. I did my matric from Bilal High School, Vihari. Then I did my FSC from Government SC College, Bahawalpur. At that particular time, I secured my merit of medical college. I initially joined medical college, but at the very same time, I opted for Pakistan Army. I appeared in the test of Pakistan Army, and I got selected in Army as well. So at that particular time, I have two choices: whether to opt for a medical career or an army career or a career of an army officer. So at that particular time, I opted Army. I have got many reasons for that because though I was studying pre-medical, I was studying to be a doctor because medical was one of the was more dominant profession in my family. My real uncle, my cousins, they were doctors. So, but once I got another career opportunity, and that was Army, I got tempted towards that career. So I joined Pakistan Army. I served in Army for 6.5 years almost during the training. 2 years training in Pakistan Military Academy, Kakul, and then 4.5 years service at different places of Sindh and Balochistan, and then KP as well, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And thereafter, I got an opportunity to appear in the civil service examination. That's a kind of quota which is there in civil services for the armed forces, and I appeared in that quota, and luckily or incidentally, I was selected for Police Officer of Pakistan. This was my first option, the first preference, because we could opt for Foreign Service, District Management Group, and Police Officer of Pakistan. But police, I opted police, and luckily I got police because I was already putting on a uniform in Army, so I was more tempted towards a uniform kind of service. That is a brief history of my, I would say, early life, or I would say mid-career life as well. A few other things I would like to make a mention here. That I was always very active in extracurricular activities. I always participated in almost any or every kind of sports. I've been into cricket, squash, badminton, volleyball, and then I remain part of the debating team of my school. I kept on participating in debates and declamation competition, the quiz competitions. I would say the strength or my strong point was Urdu debating, and I had won many competitions even at divisional level in Bahawalpur, and then even in military. I kept on pursuing this career of mine, and this extracurricular activities of mine, and I kept doing that. And otherwise, I was very active in taking parts into different pantomimes, the annual functions, and annual when we have different dramas or pantomimes. So I kept myself engaged in those activities as well. I've always thought that studies and education, that is one of the most important part of your personality grooming or your career. But that is not the only part of your career and your personality grooming. The most important or the confidence building part of your career or one's career is once you move out of the books and you take part into different extracurricular activities, may it be sports, may it be quiz, may it be debates, may it be drama, may it be acting in different kind of pantomimes. So because that is something which gives you a kind of confidence which you really need or you require once you step into the practical life. So this is, I would say, a brief account of my early life. Or what I could at least remember. So if you want to proceed any further on any specific thing, I can always relate on that.
So please, would you like to tell that what took you to become an AIG and what were the hardships you faced?
First and foremost thing is the fate itself. Probably, as I told you, it was not a career, it was not an ambition I started off with. It was not something I used to think at the start of my career. It was not something, there was one drama I still remember in PTV, that was Dhua. If you ever get a chance, you can always see a recap of it. Now it's available online. I used to see an ASP into that drama. In this, the police service was much more glorified. I was as young as you are now. So that was one drama or one character which motivated a lot of people, a lot of kids at that particular moment to join such kind of uniform service. But that was not the only thing, I would say, that took me through this career or that led me off this career. As I've told you earlier, that initially I was studying pre-medical. I got myself admitted in medical college. Then fate took me to another place, that is the military career. And once there, I got an opportunity to appear into an exam of civil services and to join civil services. There's a competition between the army officers once we come from army on a fixed quota to the civil services. So as luck would have it, I appeared in that exam and I got selected. But once I got selected, I had two options, whether to stay in army or to join civil services. So I was a very happy soldier, I would say. I was in a very good military unit and I was very happy to be in that unit. But I don't know what clicked at that particular moment. I decided to join the civil services. And let me tell you, I don't know how hard it is to join this service, but it's very difficult and very challenging, I would say, to stay in this service. Because you can achieve something, probably it's not very difficult, it's stroke of luck, it's your hard work, at times prayers and all that, whatever being socially or religiously, whatever factors we can count. But more and challenging thing is to stay in that particular service and to grow with the reputation in that service. That is most important, and that is very difficult and challenging. While I'm here today at this service, I've spent almost 17 years of service, policing service in this career, and I'm at an assignment where I'm having a different exposure and different kind of things. I've been into field, I've been putting on uniform, and I've been posting different provinces. I started my police career from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa once the things were not very comfortable over there. We used to have the very strong wave of terrorism over there in that province, KP, at that particular time. Then I went to GB, Pakistan. I commanded district Gilgit for 2.5 years almost. That was again very challenging appointment because that particular station has a very long chronic sectarian issue. And then I came to Punjab, and it's been 8 years I'm in Punjab now. I've been to different assignments, different field assignments where I've been putting uniform, and a lot of police officers you might be seeing on television working and running here and there in the field. So I've been at different places. I've been to rural areas like Laiya and Bhakkar, and then I've been to very criminally challenging districts like Gujranwala, Zia Khan, Sahiwal. So difficulty is one thing, but it's a very challenging assignment. It's a very challenging assignment. And if you work hard and if you want to have a better reputation, if you want to be known as a professional officer, if you want people to respect you, if you want your force to respect you, believe me, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to balance. It's a very difficult thing to strike a balance, because at one place you do have your force to command. They have different kind of requirements, and at other time you have people to fulfill their requirements and people to fulfill their expectation, and that is altogether a very different thing. So to do the both things, to do justice with both the things, to keep these two things along, it's a very challenging task. And I would say it's a challenging but it's an interesting task. It becomes interesting once you join this profession with a passion, once you make this profession your hobby, and you don't anymore think in a way that I have to get up in the morning and I have to spend my day doing those things which I don't like and I have to sleep at night. With this kind of attitude, whatever profession you are in, you will never grow, I would say. And maybe you grow financially, maybe you grow in your position, but intellectually you can never grow in these kind of circumstances. So what I have learned and what I do, I take pleasure in my job. I take pleasure in interacting with people. I take pleasure in taking the challenges. So by doing so, I think whatever challenges come, at the end of the day, it turns out to be a learning. It turns out to be a great learning. It turns out to be a great story. And after some years or some months passed, every tough and bad situation, it remains as a very challenging and very cherishing memory in one's mind.
So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this field?
It's a question which may take a date for answering, but I'll try to answer it in a few lines. There are a lot of them. Like in old fantasy movie, we hear a dialogue that every magic has a price. So everything has a price. Everything has a trade-off. Everything has a payoff. Everything has a consequence. So police, it's a wonderful profession if you start taking pride into it. It has a lot of advantages. First of all, if I start with very meticulous and very worldly advantages, it has a good administrative side. You are well taken care by the government. You, by virtue of your assignment, you are given a respectful living. You are given a respectful, probably a vehicle. You are probably given a respectful pay, a paraphernalia. So you can have your own very comfort of life. The second advantage of police is, I would say, it's nuisance, it's recognition. You are known, people know you. If you are posted in a district or if you are posted at a place, you have an identity. If you work hard, if you work well, in either way, even if you don't work well, good or bad, you are known to the people. So being known by your name is one of the things. I think every other person in our society works hard for it. You earn money because you want to be known. That's the point. So another advantage is you are very influential. You can access the system. You can get favors or you can get merits which at times we don't get in normal routine in our society in a routine way. So that is one of the important factors, that you have access to the system where you can even for any good deeds, or I think for bona fide, you can you be very beneficial for your own self and your family. And then you can do a lot of people. Now coming towards from the worldly advantage or coming from the very material advantage, if you come towards the very moral or very I would say advantages which is a Muslim as a human being we normally target or we normally try to focus, we mediate. You got a lot of room to do things in this profession. By a very stroke of your pen or by a very word of your mouth, you can change people's life. People are suffering, people are running here and there to get justice, and this is a profession, it's a right profession where people don't have any option. If you want to buy something, if you want to buy a cell, you want to have a cellular service, you have options. If one particular service is not providing you what you want, you will opt for another thing. If one doctor is not giving you a proper service, you can go to another doctor. If one lawyer is not fighting your case well, you can go to another lawyer. So you have a lot of options available. But in government sector, and especially in police, you don't have any other option. You got to go to a person who's sitting on the chair. So that is what makes your importance. That is what makes your word and your, your end probably worth it. So that is one of the most important things. So that is a very big advantage. I would say you can earn a lot of good deeds for your end of the days, probably like it's been said by Allah Almighty Himself, ki Hakukullah, Hakukul Ibad. So that Hakukul Ibad portion can be focused on this very profession. The disadvantages, again, there are a lot, but I'll try to focus the very main 3-4 disadvantages. First of all, as I said earlier, it's a very challenging assignment. At times you don't have your life of your own. Probably I'm sitting with you right away, probably I get a call and I have to cancel all my commitments, I have to get up and I have to move. You miss your family events, you miss the weddings of your closed one, at times you miss the funerals of your closed ones. You at times are on the target list of not many people, not only the dacoits or terrorists, probably the evil elements or the mafias of the society. If you work against them, they try to tarnish your reputation, they keep you on your target. At times your family has to suffer. Our family, our kids, at times they have to suffer. They do not enjoy that kind of freedom at places, I would say, where the other people might have those particular rights of freedom. So where this nuisance, this sense of being known, this sense of being popular in either way has its advantages, it equally has the other side of the picture as well. It has its disadvantages. So there are many sleepless nights we had, and worst of all, if you keep a little heart for the people, if anything bad happened under your command, there are many sleepless nights you are not been able to sleep, that if something goes wrong under the people for whom you are responsible to provide them security and to provide them justice. So if something wrong goes on, so probably I have many sleepless nights where I'm not able to sleep properly because keeping aside my profession, my personal affiliation to someone always bothered me that the crime happened to them or the crime happened under my watch. It disturbs you. So it's a mix of both.
So have you ever regret to becoming an AIG?
Never. If I have to go back in time and I have to choose a career again, I'll choose the very same career. Not only career, I'll wish and I'll pray to have the same path as well. Career is one thing that I was in police. Path is where I'm sitting right now, from where I've passed through different stages, and at that particular moment I'm sitting at particular place. I will not even want to change an inch of the path where I have reached. You probably may call it my contentment, or you probably call it my accomplishment, or you probably may call it my achievement, or whatever I would say. I would do the very same. What to call of regret, I have told you earlier, for the sake of repetition. If I have to go back in time and I would opt any profession again, I'll again the very same. I'll opt the very same profession once again.
Thank you so much for your answers. Now, my first question from you is that what are your most appreciated and famous reforms?
It's a very difficult question to ask somebody because it comes in the self-praising, I would say. But for the sake of, I would say, education and I would say theory, wherever I remain posted, I try to create a public facilitation. So may it be Laya, may it be Bakha, may it be Zia Khan, may it be Saiwal, whatever places I remained at as a district police chief or district police head, at everywhere I made in the best possible way, utilizing all the available sources. I've always made a complaint cell for the public, in which all the complaints, initially we did not have the automated complaint mechanism in Punjab Police. Now we do have, but in early 2016 or late 2015, we never had this automatic or automated computer generated complaint management system. So at that particular time, I launched a freelancer in Laya, and we made a web-based solution of automatic complaint addressal system and a mobile app as well. So that I always cherish to be one of, I would say, an accomplishment, I would say, or an achievement or something I can cherish upon, because listening to the people is one of the most important thing for a public servant. Because one of the most faced problem by the people is that the government servant at times are not accessible to the public. And once we are not accessible, the senior, they are not accessible. They cannot have that kind of justice in our system down the lane. So that was one of the most important thing I would say. Besides that, I've always tried to focus on the infrastructure of the police stations and the reporting room in the police station. So that was one of the things I can challenge upon.
Okay. So now my second question is, how did you deal with armed dangerous criminals?
Again, it's our routine job, it's our routine duty. And police, Punjab police especially, I would say, I've served in 3 different provinces in police department. I have been in KP and then Gilgit and Punjab. KP and Punjab, both police departments, they are in their own ways. They've got the expertise to deal with the armed criminals. KP, as you know, it's dealing with the war on terror since long. And while my posting in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, I also had to encounter such terrorist incidents as well. So it's not difficult, I would say. It looks a bit difficult in the beginning, but once you have the upper edge of being the custodian of the law, and you have the law and the book at your back, it's really not very difficult. Because the armed criminals, they also know that if they are firing, and if anybody from their firing gets caught injured or killed, they are committing a crime. But on the other side, the police officer, if he's doing the same thing against the armed criminals in bona fide way, for his own self-protection and for the protection of people, he is doing it for the law. So the law stands behind the police officer. So that is the most important thing, which gives us confidence and the stamina to fight against such armed criminals.
Okay. Now my third question is, what works of yours led to you being what you are today?
Probably you may say that I am giving a lot of attributes to fate, but it's really the fate what it is. And secondly, I would say honesty to the service and my dedication. I'll always try to fulfill the basic requirements of the very assignment I am given. As I've told you earlier, that I have been to field as well, and at that particular moment I am at a very respectable assignment. I'm working as SSP Law and Order for the Chief Minister, and this is a very prestigious assignment because this is the biggest office of the province. This is the main executive office of the province where all its decision making is being carried out, and it's an experience for me as well. So I think my honesty to the cause, my dedication to whatever assignment I have been given, that is one of these are a couple of the reasons beside the main, I would say, fate what it is, which has led me to this position, I would say.
Okay. Now my fourth question is, have you ever surrendered in front of criminals?
I don't think so, and I would never do that.
Okay.
It's a very good question, but if a police officer starts surrendering in front of the criminals, the whole society would collapse.
Yes.
And surrendering in front of criminals does not, by the very word, means that you lay your arms in front of the criminals. It is not the way in police. It may be the way in military, it may be the way in the wars, but for a police officer, it's not putting down your weapon or your gun in front of the criminals. It's putting down your will in front of the criminals. And that whatsoever police officer, whosoever he does that, he never enjoys a reputation. He is never respected and known well by the people of the area. So surrendering by any means in front of the criminals, lowering down your will, your motivation, your dedication to fight against the crime. I think if one wants to do that, he must quit this job and find some other better job.
Okay. Now my fifth and last question is, what will be your plan of action if suddenly a group of criminals burst inside?
First of all, I'll try to evacuate you people. And secondly, I always keep my personal weapon, so I'll try to retaliate.
Okay.
And I'll try to make sure that you people remain safe, and we'll fight them.
Yes.
And secondly, I'm quite confident that it's not very easy to get into this particular place. We keep our guards. Guards doesn't mean people. Guards mean guards up.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Musa Ismayeel.
Hello, my name is Rehaan Arif. We are from GP and we are here to interview you.
Sure.
So my first question from you is, how is it to risk your life every day?
You actually don't have to risk your life every day. We risk our life every day while we sit into a car and we start driving to our office, we risk our life every day while we go to a gym, and we are probably doing a cardio exercise, or probably we are holding weights, and we are doing weights. So that's not like it. It's not like it. It's not particularly the impression that a police officer is always threatened and police officer is always risking his life. The society has a respect, and society has a fear of a police officer as well, and these both things are very important. Fear for those who break the laws and respect for those who actually want to respect the law. So it's not that way. It's not that you can probably target one particular police officer, but you cannot target police department as a whole. And police, when it comes to police, they are good at protecting their own officers. We do not let our officers, or we do not let our officials, and while I say officials, even a constable of our force is known to be an official and officer. We do not let people harm them. We protect them. We protect them at an institution. And God forbid, if something happens to them, we take revenge as per law, in accordance of law. We bring the culprits into the court of law. We bring the culprits, we arrest them, we make it sure that they are being run through proper course of law and they have been given proper punishment. So it's not like that. It's not very easy to touch a police officer here and now and then for any criminals, because criminals know it, that if we target any police officer, the entire machinery of law will come behind them. It will come hunting them.
So my second question from you is, tell me about a time. Tell us about a time when you overcame a challenge.
I can count many. I can count many such incidents in my life, in my career. There is not even one. But I always say that as a human being, as you people, inshallah, you'll grow in your careers. Remember one thing of mine. Probably I'm slightly digressing from your question, but I'll get back to what you've asked. That in your entire career, in your professional career, in your personal career, there won't be hundreds of decisions you will be making, and there won't be hundred of choices you have to come across to channelize your life into some particular career, or to channelize your life into some particular direction. If you will start counting from today onwards, I can say any successful man, or for that matter any unsuccessful man, probably would have encountered 5 to 10 life-changing decision-making careers in his life. And that is where you matter, and that is where your career, your life, your entire orientation would matter. You don't have to decide for your career, for your life, for your profession every second day. Probably once choosing your career, secondly probably choosing your spouse or so such like decisions, they come very rare in your entire career. So getting back to what you have asked, that I have encountered many such incidents in my postings. I have seen many things, starting from having a terrorist activity or a suicide blast on myself. Then in a place of one of my postings, there was a very renowned international terrorist. He was unearthed, so we have to tackle that situation as well. So different calamities, different serious incidences. So my way of handling any situation is, first of all, I always think that what worst could have happened and what worst could have come on to me. So secondly, would panic and would chaos help me in this particular situation, or keeping my wits above, or deciding things or deciding the further course of action with all wits above would help me. And above all, in any circumstances, I've always remembered any previous incident which was far more bigger and grievous than that particular event, and I've thought how I behaved in that particular time. If that time has passed, this shall also pass. As you have heard, that dice shall pass too. It goes for all the good and bad times. So I have always thought of act normal. Whatever has happened, if I am not at fault in that creating that particular situation, so I can be at fault in handling that situation. So that is where my decision making lies. So if you particularly ask, I have certain 5 to 6 such incidents in my life where I if retrospectively I go back into the past, and I think that if I would not have kept my wits above and would not have decided, I would not have kept my force intact and would not have shown composure, I would have gone wrong, much wrong, and I would not have been come up to my own personal expectations.
What do you think your greatest strength is?
My greatest strength is on 3 things. and I keep repeating and I keep saying it to people that there are three things. If you have a strength and faith on these three things, probably you will never fail. The first and foremost thing is believe in your God. And I'm not saying it for the sake of probably few words and a probably short interview. You must have a faith in Allah Almighty. If you start having faith in Him, you will start getting rewarded. It's the faith you develop into whatever material or probably heavenly thing that will lead your way. And second is the faith in your own self. That is very important. You must know that this is the situation, it has come, no problem. I am capable enough, or probably I'm strong enough, or probably I can be strong enough to handle it. So that is one of the most important things. And the third and the most important thing is the faith in your team. And team includes your senior and your subordinates especially. So if you have a faith in Almighty Allah, if you have faith in your own self, and if you have faith in your team, you will never go fail. And these three things are my strengths, and I never let them lose.
Okay. So my fourth question is, who is your inspiration?
Honestly, if you ask me, I don't know. Probably you are much impressed by my answer or not. I have never kept any particular personality as my inspiration. I have kept certain traits as my inspiration. I would be very dramatic and very theatrical and very, I would say, cosmetic if I'll name one person and I'll say that Mr. XYZ is my inspiration, and I was a kid once I saw him or her and I thought that I want to be, just like him or her. That's not like it, at least in my case, I would say. I have kept certain traits as inspiration. I've seen few people whose nerves were so strong that sky would fall, the mountains would move, but they will not break. So I can name those people. They were my inspiration. I have seen people like, one of our IGs, he got Shahadat in a suicide attack, Sifat Guru Sahab, I would like to mention his name. He used to lead his people by holding a weapon into his own hands in KP, while he was a man of a general rank. So this trait of his was my inspiration. So I have got certain traits as an inspiration, I would say do's, and equal inspiration from don'ts as well, from different people, and I've tried to gather them. I still learn. Probably I learn from you, probably I learn from everybody. So I try to see how people they are acting and what impact their acts have on other people. So that is kind of inspiration I do carry from people. One particular personality, I'm really sorry to say, probably my answer is not very inspirational within itself, but I do not inspire, or I have never been inspired from one person as a whole personality. And I never think that's a kind of thing as an introspection. I always think that you can not be a wholesome inspiration from anybody. You have certain traits maybe.
And lastly, what are your goals?
Here my answer would be a little childish. When you are a kid, at your age probably, you don't know the much practicalities of life. You aim very high. You always dramatize your future life, probably by some inspirational things which come across you. Probably at times you listen to a song, a motivational song, and you place yourself into it, and you think that probably you are a cricketer who is hitting 6 sixes on 6 balls, or probably you are a commando and with one weapon you have killed probably entire army or dozens of people. So that's the kind of thing, if I'm not wrong, you must be thinking right today as well, and I was thinking, when I was at your age. That kind of childish feeling has not left me as yet. Though I don't see myself hitting sixes anymore in the stadium because I've crossed part the straight properly. But yes, my goal and aim does not end with getting up in the morning, coming to the office in a good car and probably going back in the same very car, and at night going for a good food and watching a good movie and trying to get into a luxury house. Or probably that's not the aim, that's not the goal, that's not probably if I get it, I still think that what next, and is it the end of days? No, that's all. Now I just have to maintain it, and one day I'll get old and I'll die, that's all. Probably a little emotional, but I told you that my answer would be a little childish. I want this name to live. Probably I cannot. Nobody can. But the names can. So that's the goal. And in what particular way it, at the end of the day, it remains, it fulfills, I don't have any idea about that. I'm as kiddish, as childish in my dreams as you would be. So that's what the goal is.
Okay, my first question is, how are women in your field usually treated, currently and used to?
There are two different roles of a woman in our field. One, being an officer herself, because we have got female police officer in police as well. And second, women as a complainant or as a victim. As an officers, the police officers recently for past 10 years, the ladies have started joining police service of Pakistan. Before that, in commissioned service as ASP, I'm saying. Before that, we always had a women participation as constables, as sub inspectors, and all that. We try to deal them with respect. There's a school of thought. I will be very candid, and I'll try to be practical with you. That there was a school of thought that women cannot work properly in this field because this field as a profession is very manly. You probably have to interact with people, you have to interact with mob, you have to interact with criminals, the gangsters, the mobsters. But women in this field, in due course of time, they have changed this very concept now. They are commanding districts, they are commanding the police stations, they are conducting the investigations. In Lahore, you can see like many of the police officers, like they are ASPs in different divisions. The second role, so they have earned their respect and their name as well. The second role of a lady is once she reports to us as a victim, as a complainant. Here, we cannot isolate police from overall very thought process for society. So I would say we try to deal them with respect, we try to deal them with care, we try to give them priority. Like in our complaints, if we get across a lady, or if we get across especially an old lady, we try to give her a great respect and we try to listen to her problems. But as a society, where the society stands, at the same very place police force stands. So at places where we try to give them the respect, so there are different incidents as well which are not a good officer would want to have in his or her command. But law provide them a lot of liberties. Like you must know that you cannot arrest a lady and you cannot just keep it in the lockups. You have to produce her in front of the court of law, and there are separate judicial system for the ladies. They are not kept with the male. So there is a culture which is embedded for the ladies. There is the provision of law. There is the provision of law which is embedded in our law and the culture for ladies. But yes, there are incidents, and that incident is a true reflection of society, not only the police department.
Okay, my second question is, how often would you say abuse of power happens in your field?
It is as often as the good use of power, I would say. We have both kind of people in our department. We have both kind of people. But the best thing is that the police department has a culture of weeding out such people. It has an embedded culture of punishment and reward. People do abuse their power, but they do not go scot-free. There's a culture of punishment in this department. There's a culture of accountability in this department. I can bet onto you. After the office hours, you try to find any other person from the government department. Let me know if you find one. If your electricity is not working and you are trying to find somebody, let me know if you find somebody. But you go to a police station, probably if you find a constable, you will find somebody sitting over there. So there's a department which works 24/7, 365. So we have abuse of power because the structure is way too expand. The structure is fanned out. So people at times use their discretionary power to abuse the power. But there's a system of accountability, there's a system of counter check. On every officer there's the next officer, and in the next one there's the next one. So there's a system of complaint redressal, there's a system of weeding out such people.
So you would say that abuse of power is not that major of an issue in your field?
It's not one of the major issues now. You know, people now can sound themselves. The era of media, social media. If somebody do such thing, the next thing you find is his photographs with, you know, or his movie clip on Twitter, on Facebook, on, you know, TikTok, or whatever you name, like. So on different WhatsApp group, you find people abusing their powers, and then they are being taken care of. They are being accounted for. So yes, this stands a challenge for a senior officer to manage their command. It stands a challenge for the senior officer to take a stock of their force. But you know, that is one of the things we have to do. We have to come across.
Okay, so my third question is, how would you solve the trolley problem? You know, the problem which there's a railway, there's a train heading towards one person, but if you pull a lever, it will head to, no, it's heading towards 5 people, but if you pull a lever, it will head towards one person. How would you solve this problem? How do you deal with this issue?
I think you are trying to say if you have to choose between devil and the deep sea, probably.
Yes.
So it's always a situation which quotes best about it. It's not a theoretical thing what you can what you can sit here and you can say, because if it's a question which relates to IQ, so probably I don't know what importance those 2 people carry and what importance those 5 people do carry. So it's a situation which tells us to do so. You actually cannot make a particular set of principles for these like the things. Every situation in our day-to-day life is a new situation. Everything which you come across is a new learning. Everything which you solve is a new riddle. So you cannot make a set rule of principles or a thumb rule for something. Yes, we do have certain kind of checks. We do have certain kind of do's and don'ts. There's one set of do's and don'ts which our service tells us, which law tells us, and there's one set of do's and don'ts and priority which our experience tells us that, okay, this kind of situation I encountered so many years back on a different situation, and how I reacted and how it behaved. That is one of the things. That is what the experience is called actually.
So you would say the situation
codes, a situation which dictates. Sitting on a chair in a drawing room in an office with an air conditioner on, you cannot decide such kind of things. It's the field which dictates the values. It's the situation which tells you how to act and where to go and what to do, whether to choose the devil or the deep sea, whether to say 5 or 2. That's what situation tells you.
Okay, my fourth question is, how are new employees in your field usually trained? How are they usually trained?
First of all, there's a very well defined and described set of trainings for the police department. There are basically three different kind of inductions in police department, though we have different inductions at different levels. One is a constable, and second is an assistant sub-inspector, and the third one is assistant superintendent of police, you know, ASP, a commissioned officer, which I was at some stage of my life. So we have a complete set of trainings for them. But again, I would tell you, you are studying in a school, you are going through a lot of theoretical things, you are going through a lot of subjects of science, I would say, probably history, park studies, different things. That is what you are doing right now. But once you will get to a practical life, you will see that the training and the practical life, they don't match much. I don't say that the training is not required to be in the field, because if you are not trained, you will be taken by the surprise and you will be able to do nothing. Like if you don't study from 1 to 10 and you know, after 20 years spending in a house, you say I'm just going to appear in A-level exam or FSC, so it's all experience, it's not training. So that's not the way. You are trained well, but once we land into the practical, this workshop, it dictates its own value. The challenges are different. The training just gives us means that what possible solutions we do have to manage the situation. At times, it is your experience which gives you, or your will, or your dedication which gives you the absolute solution for a particular situation.
So, like, if there are any changes you would make to a training system, if you could?
Training is ever evolving system. If you ask me today, I'll change few things. If I change few things myself, if you ask me after a couple of years, do you want to change something? I'll again want to change few things. So training is always evolving. You know, like whatever you are studying in O levels, probably I would have studied in FSC. So it's a training which has evolved in due course of time, which you are studying right now. Probably my daughter she's a kid now, probably she would study the same kind of syllabus in class 6 once her time comes. So training is ever evolving.
Okay, so how would you say the value of your career would be? How is the value of your career heading towards in the future? The importance of your value and the need, all that.
It's a very promising career. It's a good career. There are few things in your life any human being can focus upon. If you list down your neutral priorities and you start ticking, so this career has the opportunity to achieve many of those things. It's you as I've told you earlier in the earlier part of the interview, it gives you power, it gives you facilities, it gives you administration, it gives you recognition, it gives you a chance to earn, your so-called akhirat, I would say. So it has a number of, it's a combination of number of things. I would say it makes you live in a society, it makes you interact with kind of people who at times take big decisions, policy making decisions. So it's a big exposure, it's a big promising career. And on my personal ground, probably, I don't know, it's the future which always dictates. God willing, everything goes well. So far so good. But as a routine police officer, police is a very good career, I would say.
Those are my 5 questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for answering our questions.
You are a police officer, but I don't see you wearing a uniform today.
That's a relevant question actually. I am a police officer, and normally every police officer puts on his uniform while in field, but at this particular moment, the appointment which I am carrying, it gives me a liberty to be in the CVs we call, the civil clothes. So I am SSP Law and Order, I am a staff officer to the Chief Minister. So in this particular post, we dress in a formal dressing, but not in uniform.
Thank you.
But once I'll go back to my field assignments, I'll again be putting on my uniform, which I'm proud of.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.